So I just don't get it.
What don't you get?
It's just like you're pretty, smart, outgoing, and you're fun.
So,
So I don't understand.
what don't you understand?
How are you still single?
Welcome back to the podcast. How are you still single? A podcast about dating in the modern world. I'm your host, Ashley Rodabaugh, and this is season 2, episode 2. And today we're going to talk about what it's like dating a stand-up comedian. And I am so excited to have with me Paul Farahvar. Did I say your last name right?
Farahvar. Yeah, close enough.
Farahvar, sorry. So Paul has had me on his podcast a couple times now.
Yeah, the second one hasn't aired yet, but yeah, we have you on the Singles Only podcast.
You can check it out. Where can they listen to it, Paul?
Anywhere they podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, I think everything.
He has some pretty awesome, even if you don't want to listen to mine, you can listen to other people that he's interviewed. They're really good. I've listened to a few, so I would definitely suggest going out and checking it out. First thing, Paul, you kind of have a similar, what do I want to say, life as me. We're both attorneys. We both have podcasts about dating, but then you're now a stand-up comedian. Can you kind of talk about how you got into that and when your life took that turn?
So I was a full-time, before I did comedy, I was a musician. I managed shows, I booked shows, I played in bands for a big part of my life. And then I became a full-time lawyer in 2008. And then I became a partner at a law firm. And then a few years later, I just did improv at Second City, took classes, and then got the bug. I did an open mic to do stand-up. And just chasing that high from 9 years now still. And then 2016, I left my law firm and went on my own to do my own law firm where I could have my own practice and set my own hours and pick my own battles for trials and stuff, and gave me the flexibility to go on the road to do stand-up comedy, to do podcast, radio show, and to write on other comedy shows as well.
Very cool. One of the things I was kind of researching a little bit about dating comedians before I had you on, and they were talking about how it's really hard to date a comedian because your schedules are so insane. Do you find like you've had any conflicts when you're dating people about finding time for somebody?
So that's the biggest hurdle, I think, for dating a comedian. Is the scheduling, right? Because and we on my podcast, Singles Only, we have a lot of comedians on, and a common theme, one of the common themes is scheduling, because we have shows. I have 6 to 10 shows every week, so the times that I can be available are usually like weird times for people who have a traditional 9 to 5. So if you're going to date a comedian, in addition to all the other issues, which I'm assuming you'll get to, but the scheduling thing is the biggest hurdle to overcome. Cause people are like, oh, well, let's go to dinner. I'm like, okay, well, I could eat at 5 o'clock or at like 10:30. And that's because I don't eat, I have shows during the week, starting from 7 to 8 and going and 10:30 is like early. Saturday nights, if I'm lucky and booked, I have 3 shows and I don't get out till 12:30. So I'm eating a lot of dates are at diners and or at the 5 o'clock happy hour where all the old people are dating or going out to dinner, I should say.
Well, I wanted to ask you too, what are like some of the misconceptions people have dating a stand-up comedian? Like for me, I would think, I even dated a guy like this and I called him Mr. Smooth Talker. Like if you can carry yourself and have this presence in front of a crowd, I'm automatically attracted to you. Like what are some of the and yet sometimes like even if you're good in front of a crowd doesn't mean you're like that one-on-one. So like even though you do great stand-up, comedy and you can really make the crowd laugh, can you do it one-on-one every day? I think that's probably unrealistic. So like what are some of those misconceptions that you could talk about?
Sure. Well, the first thing, if you're online dating or you're going on a first date with a comedian, like he or she is not using you as material. 90% of people, 90% of my dates do not go into my show. And I actually have a show about dating, so that's just realistic. A lot of people think that you're 90% of the time you're not interesting enough to be in that person's show, or whatever happened is not going to be part of the show. And some comedians separate their personal from their professional life. I don't. It's part of who I am, and I can't speak for other comedians, but generally speaking, that's not going to happen. The other misconception is they're always on, right? Some comedians are always on, and other times they're not. You know, I I struggle to find my need for attention, for lack of a better word, with comedy. But now that I have that outlet, when I'm off stage, I don't necessarily need to be on. I'm trying to talk to someone, and if they're trying to get to know you, and you are okay with their schedule and you are okay with their you know craziness, then yeah, they're not going to be on. They're like normal people, or we're normal, other than needing extensive attention and what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I can't think right now. I haven't used my brain in a while, but yeah, just approval. Like, we're looking for approval on stage. I don't think we need it so much in the dating world.
That's fair. Can you talk a little bit too about what you're looking for? Like, you brought me on my show, or your show, to talk about like what I'm looking for. Can you tell people like what you're really looking for in a relationship?
Yeah.
Or if you're looking for one?
Sure. So that's a good question, and we talked about it. You and I did on the show, and before and after. So I am on the dating apps, but I'm not active on there. Um, I'm not looking to be in a serious relationship. I'm not looking to get married and have kids. But I'm also not like on there. I'm not trying to get laid, or just like a one night stand either. I do like to make connections with people and like make sincere, long lasting relationships. But I don't know what I want. And what I kind of, when people ask me that, the answer I kind of pivot to is, I know what I don't want, right? And I think from a process of elimination, you get to what you do want, or what you accept as normal. For me personally, I know I don't want to get married and have kids, so that takes a lot of people out of the running in terms of what I'm looking for. I like people who have other priorities above me, because my priority is probably not going to be that other person. And I don't think that's fair to people who deserve that attention or priority, right? Because here I am, I quit a job where I was, successful in the objective sense, making money and winning trials for clients, to pursue something where I have like a 1% chance of success, right? Stand-up comedy is like the riskiest, hardest thing that people say to do, which is crazy, by the way. Our job is not hard. Like, people working in hospitals have hard jobs, but people say it's hard to be successful in it. So I think people who have professional priorities in their lives, or other commitments in their lives, like women who are divorced and have children, I tend to get along with them too, because their priority is their child, or someone that has an aging relative that they're taking care of. Those are the kind of things that I kind of steer to, because I like a relationship to be like fun, right? It's got to be light, and it's got to be someone that's reliable, obviously, when you have serious shit going on in your life. Can you say shit on this thing? I just did it twice.
Yes, you're fine to say that. That's totally fine. And full disclosure to the people that are listening to my podcast, Paul and I met on a dating app, and we just knew we were right for each other. Yeah. But we made this connection, and it's worked out really well for us, I think.
Yeah.
So do you think that becoming a stand-up comedian has helped or hurt your dating life?
Well, it has helped in the sense of like I'm meeting more people. There's definitely a larger pool. People recognize me, and I'm not even like a good comedian. Like people have seen me, and then they'll approach me. But on the dating apps or in real life, people will recognize me, and in that sense, it's helped. It's hurt in the sense of availability. Before I was just emotionally unavailable, and now I'm also physically unavailable. So um, I think that's the best way I can answer that question.
That's good. Have any of the people that you've dated come to watch you in a show?
Yes. So when I was young, when I first started comedy, a lot of comedians do this. They'll have people come to their show to like see, kind of use it as like a tool to meet women, right? Um, I don't do that because I feel like it's work, like they're coming to my workplace. So I try not to do that until I know them. But if somebody, I've had situations where people have matched with me on the apps and they've come to my show and not tell me, or they invite them, says, hey, can I come to a show? And I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing, like I'm not going to be able to talk to you because like I'm working. So like I have to, if I'm hosting a show, I have to like go back and forth and bring up the next comedian. If I'm headlining a show, I'm like getting ready, I'm watching the comedian before me to see what's working, what's not. And then after a show, I'm selling shirts, or I'm like, I used to give people handshakes, right? And you shake hands and give people cards. I don't know what I'm gonna do now, but so yeah, like that's kind of what it is. But if I'm dating somebody, they'll come to a show. And actually, when I was last dating someone, that's how we had to see each other, right? Like I'd ask the comedy club if I can go on first so I can go to dinner early, or we would, if I'm doing a show at Laugh Factory and then going to Zany's, like we would meet in between or something, or I'd grab her on the way. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I also would need
Are
some
people going to call in? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if you want to date Paul, let me know.
Are we going to take callers? No.
Have you had any incidents of jealousy? Like, 'cause I'm assuming you're like approached after the shows oftentimes by people of, I don't know if there's like
Yes.
that approach, but
yeah, I was dating someone who came to my show, and she was drinking, and these shows are long, so in some of these places they have 2 drink minimals. At Laugh Factory, which is my home club here in Chicago, I came with the girl I was dating at the time, and she started drinking, and the bartender is a friend of mine, and giving her tall glasses of wine. And this is a girl I was dating. And then after the show, people are coming up to me, talk, and I remember she like thought that I was hooking up with one of the other comedians, one of the servers, and then somebody that was talking to me after a show, where someone gave me a card for a possible show, and she thought I was like getting a number. And I was like, number one, like we're not even seriously dating. Number two, if I was going to do that, I wouldn't do it in front of you. And that's probably not the right answer when someone asks you. But and then I was like, yeah, I don't date other comedians, and I don't date the servers. So yeah, there is jealousy.
did you still date her after all of that?
I did. Yeah, I think it was just alcohol that was talking, and probably, you know what, dating comedians are frustrating. I can say that. And she had to put up with a lot. It's hard. And I think that the alcohol was like, she got to see what my life was like, and it's fun. You, especially if you have a good show, you have 300 people laughing, and after the show, like you're kind of the center of attention. And so some people can't handle that. And not to mention, after a show, if you have a good, dating a comedian, another problem is there's highs and lows, right? You have a great show, you're unbearable. I mean, after a show, if I have a good show, I'm unbearable. Like nobody can talk to me. If I bomb, I'm also unbearable because I'm so like in my head. So it's not, I would highly recommend not dating a comedian. I know that's kind of a cock block here, but that's just the way it is. Being
I will
honest to all the younger folks out there.
I will
I don't
say,
know.
when I Googled it, that's pretty much what everything said was do not date a stand-up comedian. So there's not a lot of positivity.
100%.
Has
No, I mean, we're funny. That's you'll laugh a lot. I will say that. Um, some of the, I've been a musician, I've been a lawyer, and I have friends that are my best friends from 20 plus years. But some of those days hanging out with comedians, with other comedians, like are the best days of my life. I mean, the best days of my life. Like I've laughed harder than I ever have, and especially like, you know, yeah. I mean, I can say that anyone that's dated me, I've been the funniest person they've dated, unless they like dated, you know, Jim Gaffigan or something.
have you ever dated someone that couldn't tell the difference between whether you were serious or joking? And like, did that ruin your relationship?
Yes, all the time. Yeah, yeah, that happens a lot. I have a dry sense of humor, and I think that sometimes it's pretty abrasive and offensive sometimes. Um, and that's a big thing too for me. That's kind of a deal breaker if someone doesn't get your comedy, right? Because that's a big part of who you are as a person, let alone if it's your career. And I dated someone that I shouldn't have dated, but she didn't understand uh, when I was making fun of her in a joking way, and when I was making fun of her in a real way. But then the lines kind of got blurred at the end anyway, because I was kind of like, oh, you're just an idiot. And so yeah, and like I said, some people shouldn't date comedians, and I definitely use that girl in my material with her permission. So
That's nice. Do you get all the girls' permissions that you when you use
uh,
it?
no, well, that was a girl I dated for a few months, and we're friends now. But she was a lot younger than me, so at the time we dated, she was um, just not some things she didn't know were hilarious. So I made a joke, but I don't always get their permission. But I protect the innocent if they deserve to be protected. But some stuff that's in my material are from dates or people I've met. They're not people I've dated long term. Those are the people I get permission from. But if I've gone out with you on a date and you were a dick, you're gonna get busted. So, I mean, when people ask me about my worst date, like there's a woman that she knows the stories about her because I've talked about it on radio, on podcasts, on TV shows, and she ended up coming to a show that I had and like confronted me about it in front of her friends who I also knew. And I was like, that's what happened. Like, I'm a very honest, and like, we're lawyers. We know details. I know what happened. All that. What's that?
She denying it?
She was denying. The story is that I basically, after our first date, I dropped her off to her booty call because I wanted to give her a ride home. And she denied that happened. But I mean, I was there. I know when the guy answered the door after she got some text about her friend having food poisoning that she had to go all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to call her out. I mean, the funny thing is she came to a show called Drink Day Laugh that I have the Laugh Factory free plug, and where people talk about their dates. And then she wasn't telling that story, but then her friends were like, Heather or whatever her name is. And I was like, oh yeah. And then she's like, just so you know, I've heard you're telling the story. It's not accurate. I'm like, it's accurate. Like maybe what the guy was wearing wasn't accurate. Like I think in the story I say he answers the door with a cowboy hat on and tidy whities, but maybe he had boxers. But I mean, he did have a red cup with a country hat, and it was a booty call. And I dropped him off. You're welcome. like an Uber. I didn't
Uh,
even do the whole story, but that's a true story.
that's amazing. I sadly don't have something to that level. I don't know if that's sad or not. Do you have anyone that you've met?
Reading your book.
Yes, I'm gonna pitch that at the end. Don't worry. But Paul has a copy of the book. Is gonna read it, right?
I started, and yeah, for first chapter with the Bow Wow thing, I had a similar situation. So yeah, like I think it's going to be a good book. I'm looking forward to it.
I hope you like it. My uncle said I'm a little too nice. I probably should have been meaner, but it is what it is. I have a question. Have
Yeah.
you ever met somebody that like has really made you think differently about not wanting to get married?
Um, yeah. So here's the thing about marriage. Like I'm not saying I'm never going to get married. It's just not on my radar right now. And like, I know this is a bad example, and I know I've used it before, and I know it's going to come back to bite me if and when I get married. But it's like marriage is something people do because you kind of should, right? Like, you know, you want to have a Portillo's burger or whatever your orders at Portillo's every day, but like you get a salad because it's the right thing to do. Like you get a salad because marriage is that salad. It's a healthy decision. It's not going to make satiate you as much as a burger would, but it's like a good decision. And I've had my share of salads. I'm like, oh yeah, this is someone that I probably should marry. But not recently. Like, was when I was younger, I thought it was going to happen. But no, I'm pretty happy. I mean, I definitely have had long relationships that are healthy, and I reconnected with my ex-girlfriend who we are best friends. We don't talk for like 2 years, and then we catch up, and like we both like had this amazing conversation of how it was like the best relationship either of us have had. But we just towards the end it just fizzled out, and we're not reconnecting or anything. It was just like it was just so funny. Like we had so many, because I'm writing new jokes and stuff during this period, and she helped me work out some memories of stuff because a lot of the stuff that her and I were doing was funny. So
When I wrote my book, I went on Facebook and looked at old photos and like posts. Like that was a way for me to remember some of
yeah, yeah, it was my birthday a couple months ago, and I asked people, instead of wishing me happy birthday, to like give me their favorite memory of me. And there was a lot of stuff people like I didn't remember in my life. I used to, when I was a musician, I drank a lot, and I did some drugs. So like I don't remember parts of my life. And I was like, oh yeah, like, and some stuff I remembered like after a recall, but then others I'm like, wait, was that me? Like, because before I found a stage like comedy, like I would do probably unhealthy things to get attention or make people laugh. So, and my body was physically abused. I was thrown into bushes by myself, or I've thrown myself into bushes for a laugh. So not healthy, kids. Don't do it. I don't know what your age demo is.
Imagine if there was Snapchat and YouTube when you were that age. Maybe you would have had a whole different following.
It's funny because I was in a fraternity, and I remember when I was younger, I thought I was going to be a politician. And so I was very careful not to take pictures drunk or like with alcohol in my hands. Um, and I was cleaning out, doing a Corona cleanup, and like I found all these pictures where I was like clearly trying to hide the fact that I was either drunk or high. But it's like, you're like 20 years old. It's like, okay, everyone knows you are, and like putting like a joint behind your pocket is not going to really hide the fact that you're high at a Dead concert. Like everyone knows that's what you're doing, or a Fish concert, whatever. But yeah, if we had that stuff, like we would all be canceled. The stuff that I did in high school and college, like thank God for statute of limitations for legal stuff. I just posted on Instagram, like I tore out a newspaper article of when we burned our letters into or not our letters, our year of graduation into our high school soccer fields as our senior prank. And I'm like, It's been 20 plus years. We're okay. But like, yeah, imagine if we YouTube that. If we had YouTube at that time, or we had phones to record it, we would have. And then
Oh yeah.
we would have got.
Oh yeah. Do you have TikTok yet?
I was going to do it because of this time frame, this issue, but I don't. I didn't do it. I didn't set it up. There's that and going live on Instagram or Facebook. That's a lot of comedians do. But then that's when you know it's like you've hit rock bottom. I don't know. I think it's great. TikTok is great, and so is going live. But I'm trying to avoid it if I can. But I probably will end up doing both.
You're definitely gonna jump on board. I know it. You have to gather the audience.
My niece really likes TikTok, and Laugh Factory has a channel with a TikTok page. So if I don't get on the Laugh Factory's TikTok page, then maybe I will, just so I can be cool to my niece, because she's 12 years old and she loves TikTok. Although I don't know how much of my comedy about being single is going to really relate with 12-year-olds on TikTok. So
You never know. You can make.
we're talking about, I don't know, yeah, my latest take on life coaches. How's that going to work with a 9-year-old on TikTok? Or you don't want them asking their parents like, "What does this mean?" No, I don't want to get in trouble with my friends or who have parents who are like, "Oh, my kid saw you talking about 69. What the hell?" I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was okay."
Did you see that TikTok got sued? Actually, I'm pretty sure for collecting juvenile information. Some federal agency as they're at least, I think they're being charged. I don't know, or being fined or something along those lines. I don't know. I read it in an article. So I have one TikTok.
Well, if you read it in an article, then it's 100%.
It wasn't a Facebook post. I swear it was like a legitimate news article. I swear. I have one, and it's Lori Lightfoot checking in on everyone. That's my TikTok.
Oh yeah.
She's like outside.
Yeah, no, they're good. I mean, they're collecting data for sure, right? It's what are they going to do with the data? Facebook is doing it too, but I don't mind it, because then like I'm getting like new things. Like if I talk about I'm buying new shoes, the next day it's like, have you seen the new Adidas? I'm like, oh, thanks Facebook. Thanks for listening to my conversation, because it's like helpful. But with TikTok, I think it's in China, so people are freaked out. Like, well, what are they going to do with them? What are they going to do with that information? It's like, listen, Bob in Tulsa, Oklahoma, no one gives a shit like that you're going to get fertilizer. Like, it's not a big deal.
I agree with you. Like those posts that go on Facebook periodically, they come up usually every year. Like, share this post to protect your information from Facebook. And who cares?
Yeah. Those things are it's so obvious. Like when they were asking people to do that like a couple years ago with different opinions to see what animal you are or whatever. It's like they're collecting data for the upcoming election, you idiots. Like, of course. And then they get mad that they're getting bombarded with stuff about their candidates or whatever. It's like they're collecting information and selling it. So yeah, those are things that if people don't believe that, that's another thing too. Like when dating, you got to make sure you're on the same page with conspiracies. Some people are conspiracy theorists, and
flat earth.
This is all relative. Flat earth. You guys have to be on the same page with the flat earth thing. There should be a page for that. They should just all find each other. Man, that would make it so much easier to like, if you can take things out of the pools and then they go into their own pools, like that would be like different like levels of pools. Shallow pool for flat earthers, of course, but I don't know. I'm gonna get canceled. We're gonna edit those out, right?
No, I
don't care. Come at me, flat earthers. I don't care. I'm at pfarahvar@gmail.com. Tell me that the earth is flat. Nah, I don't care.
Also, where else can they find your stand-up? And YouTube? I know that.
Yeah, I have a YouTube page that I'm active on now. It's youtube.com/Paul F Comedy. And then I put up stuff on Instagram a lot. That's Paul Farahvar. Farah, like Farrah Fawcett, VAR, Farahvar. And Twitter, I put stuff on there too, and Facebook. I don't know what else there is. LinkedIn. No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I use LinkedIn.
Soon, maybe.
I think I'm on LinkedIn. I post on there. I post legal stuff and comedy stuff and inspirational stuff.
Do you?
Flat Earth stuff. A lot of flat Earth. No, I don't know. Okay.
So what can you tell my listeners to do for dating? A tip on dating.
Tips on dating. Don't get too drunk on the first date. Let's see. Don't date stand-up comedians. That's the other one.
Or if you do, be well aware that their schedule may not align with yours.
Their schedule and their increasingly unusual behavior and erratic behavior is going to be problematic for you. I don't know. That's it.
But they might make
But
you
the
laugh.
alcohol, they will for sure make you laugh. Let's be honest. Unless like the funniest like person at your marketing consulting firm or whatever is not going to be funnier than the worst stand-up comedian. Like if you're doing stand-up and you're a regular at any of the comedy clubs in any city you're at, chances are that guy or girl is going to be 1,000 times funnier than you and Bob from accounting. I don't know.
I love Bob from accounting. So Paul,
We all do. It's funny.
Paul, I just want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on your show too. I'm on my way to go check you out.
Yeah, when this is all over, I have a show at Laugh Factory in Chicago pretty regularly, and then I'm on tour. My website is Paul F Comedy. Oh, that I forgot to say. PaulFComedy.com has all my tour dates and links to my podcast and my YouTube page. So just go there. That's the place to go.
Yeah, also has really nice shirts. I have one and I forgot that I have one and I should have got it on.
Yeah, I sell shirts. Better call Paul. Every week I've been, until this is all over, I've been donating proceeds to different things, depending on what week this is. This week, I don't know when this airs, but this week I'm doing comedy club staff, Laugh Factory and Chicago and Zanies and all the comedy clubs in Chicago. I'm giving half the proceeds of every shirt to their GoFundMes.
Yeah, this will be in a couple weeks, so just check into on his site to see what he's doing then. Yeah.
At that point, I might just be giving it to myself. So we'll see.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Hinge, yeah, it's gonna go towards my to get that high-end Hinge thing, where
yeah.
you can see who, I don't know what.
Premium?
That's where the money go to. The premium, or up top, I can be like, hey, if you're a flat earther, swipe left, or whatever it is.
Okay, thanks so much, Paul. Also, check out my book, Still, How Are You Still Single? You can get it on Amazon, and you can go to my website, howareyoustillsingle.com. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Paul, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
No problem.